And but we came out, we survived. Yeah.
And then now you joined the University of Nairobi. And are you in halls of residence?
Yes. But again, I said my mother, being the person she is, the Nairobi University had beautiful residence. My friends managed to get an apartment, but my mom knew there was a particular residence for women called Stella Winja.
Yes.
Yeah, Stella Winja
was named after, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't called Stella Winja. Then it was called Nancy something. I can't remember. It changed the name to. And she got me a room there with my friend, this best friend of mine, Nicole, from high school, so that we could share. Now that was perfect.
Tell us what you're studying. Tell us about this period of being in Nairobi.
So Nairobi University was probably interesting in many ways. So I was lucky. I was in a beautiful residence, Stella Winja. You had 2-room in the middle, partition, with a little kitchenette and your own bathroom and shower. So there are things in my life I realize I don't like to share in the public. Shower, toilet, shower. Gosh, I just wish everybody could be blessed with that gift of having. In fact, one of the biggest things I keep saying now, even with a foundation and when we do stuff, I'm like, please, let's build toilets. Let's build toilets. Because the dignity it gives you, having a decent toilet and a decent shower is incredible. So it was beautiful. Now, Stella Winja also had its own dining room downstairs. And that dining room, I tell people at the university, we had 3-course meals, right? We would have a starter, we'd have a main, and we'd always have dessert.
Wow.
Dessert! University of Nairobi. Jelly,
custard,
cake and custard, and everything else. The meals, we love the Scotch eggs.
Wow.
I mean, it was incredible. It was not the university that it is today. But I think, for me, the tough things came into the university. The first 2 years were good.
Were you getting?
5,500. 5,000. I mean, do you know how much money that was?
Okay. Let me understand this. So, 5, even 000. Your parents weren't paying for your fees?
No. University of Nairobi didn't pay. You were paid. You were paid. I'm sorry. 5,500 and something. I just know it was 5,000 plus change. It was just short of 6,000 shillings. A lot of money.
Wow.
You could really live it up. Okay. And if you don't drink, I didn't drink and whatever. The guys, of course, would go blow it, beer and whatever. It was a lot of money, man. We were okay.
Wow.
It would allow you to go to Vision. When it started to run out,
Vision
next door, there was this place where they had chips. You could go buy chips and sausage and, it was okay.
And the meals are part of the package?
Yes. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Wow.
You understand?
Yeah. Wow.
Cake and custard. People look at me, they say, but we don't even get that. I said, oh, yes, that's what we had.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about school itself? And did a couple of people from Rusinga,
Musungari? Yes, my group of friends, that's why we all agreed. Because there was a group of us who all actually came to the University of Nairobi, including Laura, who came back from Canada and joined the university. So we hung out together a lot of the time.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a pack.
And what are you studying?
So I went to do a Bachelor of Commerce degree.
So now this time, the lawyer thing, because you had done that.
I wanted it. It was an image. It was whatever. But I thought business for me, Bachelor of Commerce had a fascination. And again, I tell people where the fascination came in, right? I figured independence, business, money, independence. That cycle comes across. And the second thing I think that also stuck in my head, which I probably didn't speak to when I was young, and I always say it, and I hope this is the last time I say it because I say everybody, and I'm like, oh my God, people are going to say, oh, she's going to say that again, is that even when I was young, I told you I was a reader. Part of what I would read is a newspaper. A newspaper are your father's things, I don't know what it is with fathers and newspapers. Do you guys understand this thing with newspaper? Newspapers, Anyway, so I'd get the newspaper and flick through it and read it. And in those days, when you look at businesses announcing their results and all those things, so they put all the photographs, another image stuck in my black and white page of a newspaper. All the directors' photos would be in the newspaper when they're announcing the results. Not like now where you sign chairman or secretary, whatever. And I'd ask myself, why is it just men?
In fact, I was going to ask you that.
Why? And old men. When you're 10, 11, everybody's old.
It's true.
So I mean, these old men, old, all of them. And I asked myself, how is it in business and boards? And I think that's why I purposed. Every time now, when I started this journey of joining boards, I mean, whatever, I kept saying, it was from that seed of saying, you tell yourself, I want to change that face that I recall as a 10 or 11-year-old, where it's just all these men, old men. The face of corporate Kenya has to also have diversity, right? And diversity is not also just all women, it's all young across different colors, ethnicities, and things like that. Yeah.
First of all,
so that is part of the reason I figured business would make sense.
But you were reading the newspaper at that age.
Yeah, I read everything. I used to read everything. I would read anything that was readable.
Reader's Digest.
I loved Reader's Digest. Oh my gosh. I used to try and subscribe. There was a neighbor who used to have them. So I used to go borrow them so that I could read them.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, you remember Reader's Digest?
That's the one thing I've ever read.
Reader's Digest. Reader's Digest. Yeah.
Okay, so commerce, business, independence, money. I've understood that whole thing. And also this is the side where diversity. So, but I want to understand, how is class? Are you enjoying the,
I love the university, but I'll tell you, I think I did have a few very traumatic times at the university. And that is because, as you know, that's the time I did Miss Kenya. All right? That's the other story.
No, I don't know. But what? You did what?
Okay, now I can talk about it. For years I deny I ever did that. I was Miss Kenya. So
no, you were Miss Kenya.
Okay.
Okay, no, you're super. But you won.
Yes.
Okay,
but let's dial back.
CTA is the research. So I intentionally don't
ask for stuff.
Research.
Yeah. And I'm glad you don't know, because I would have loved you to bits, because I love people who don't bring it up. I really do. But here's the thing. I never used to talk about it. So so in my first year, meet a wonderful woman called the late Mildred Owiti. I don't know if you know her, whatever. And a guy called Barack. Was his name Barack, whatever. So they see me and they sit down there like, would like to make a proposition to you. And I'm trying to remember where Mildred or whatever met me. Even now, when I reflect on that time, I must have been walking the street somewhere or something. I can't remember where it was. And they said, listen, there's something we want you to do. And I said, I'm like, what? They said, Miss Kenya's been going on for a long time. And unfortunately, when you look at it, the profile is not, as you can imagine those days, it's a particular kind of girl, mixed race or not, or, light-skinned, mixed race, education, no higher level education. That was a fact. That's just the way it was. Those are the girls who did Miss Kenya, in quote. Those were the girls. Yeah. That was the block. So we want to change the paradigm. They didn't use paradigm. I'm putting the words in your mind. And so they said, we really want you to try for this. No, we're going to support you. So I'm like, but what's in it for me? I'm ruthless business person. What's in it for me? I mean, why? I don't want the attention. I don't necessarily want. They said, no. So will I make money? And then they said, yeah, well, you see. So I said, so what is in it? Take me through what is involved in this
Make
thing.
me understand logically.
Make me understand my famous words. And they said, no, you're going to travel. I said, where? Remember, travel's my dream. This girl used to lie on the grass saying, you're going to travel and see all these places. They said, yeah, okay, it's going to be in London. Oh, really? Okay, and then we're going to go to Macau. Where is that? Where's Macau? Where is Macau? I mean, pull out a map. There was no Google. Where is Macau? I want to know where Macau is. Somewhere off. And then in Hong Kong. Oh my goodness. By that, I didn't care about anything else. I said, I'm in.
Sign me up.
But then I asked one question. I said, but will anybody know? Will anybody know? This is the stupidity of youth and naivety. I said, no, not really. I'm like, so they asked me, how many Miss Kenyas do you know? I said, oh, I've heard of Khadija. She said, yeah, maybe Khadija one, but how many others? There have been many. I'm like, okay. Yeah, not many, Yeah, nobody will know. I said, okay, cool, we'll do it. I go, I do it. front page of the newspaper, Sunday Nation. Hey, Sunday Nation, front page. I cried the whole day. I cried the whole day. I'm like, oh my goodness, how am I going to live this down? How am I going to live this down? Yet other people were happy. Others at that time were like, my parents were very happy. They were very proud. They didn't mind. My mother even came for the show, by the way. She came to Visions, my mother, with my auntie. They were sitting there. So I'm like, how am I going to live this down? Then that's when all the things start coming in, because remember in those days, today to be any of these things, my daughter herself for years used to tell me, Mom, how come you've not helped me become Miss Kenya? How come? I'm like, are you mad? It is a completely different thing. If you look at social media, these are the things people look up to. Those days it was, and you're in college, University of Nairobi, the bastion of conservatism and everything else. Oh my gosh!
I can't believe you try and downplay this story like just another.
No, it was also anyway. I'll tell you. Oh my gosh!
Just one or two questions about this era. First and foremost, congrats. That's amazing.
How is it amazing? Anyway, it helped me.
No, it's good to do co-curricular activities while you're in university. First and foremost.
Yeah.
2, congrats because you're on your goal to get independent.
Yes. And by the way, that's what I said. I asked them.
Yeah.
I did this thing.
You said, yeah. But here's a question. I know I just want to understand. So I don't just want to, you did this thing. Like, you've never walked down an aisle, you've never catwalked, or like, what is it? Like, I don't know. Stella Bogonko was Miss Tourism or one of the things. Yeah. You were Miss Kenya.
Yes.
Hey, that's
1986. Yes,
wow.
I was.
So, what was the process like going through? And then, like,
so it was.
And are you telling
honestly
your
and
friends?
truly? Yeah, of course they knew. Everybody knew.
Okay,
it was that. Everybody in campuses. That's what they still call me.
Before you won.
No, they knew I was going to do this thing. I went for it and whatever. And then I think for me, first of all, the travel was a misnomer.
Before the travel, the process of the show, the process of doing the competition. I want to understand what stages do you go through for you to win?
There was no stages. It was only one show. We went, I can't even remember. I blanked it out.
Oh, yes. Like
I just remember somewhere we went, we did, we had Visions, you walked once, you answered a few questions, you talked, everybody cheered, they did whatever, and the other girls, and then you walked up and down, I did that, and then they sat down, the judges sat down and said, okay, first runner-up, second runner-up, winner. I'm like, what the?
No, but
but it was, okay, so it happened, I'm like, okay, great.
Are you dated at this time, by the way?
No.
Boys?
No. I don't boys. Me boys, I don't talk about. This is very traumatic. My university days were very traumatic when it comes to boys. I don't even, when I said that, no, but, not a blanking out phase.
Photographic memory now.
The photographic memory is there. It's as clear as day, but I blank it out. When you sit down, when you see a picture and you pull a screen. You see a picture and you pull a screen. No. But it was difficult because now you're brandished a lot of things because people they determine that you must be this kind of a person. I don't know what that kind is, but that kind.
Okay.
That kind. That's what happens. I mean, there was
And you weren't famous before this?
There was a university lecturer who even tried to fail me.
Wow.
And the person who saved me, till today, he laughs about it, was a dean of commerce. He was our neighbor, family friend, and Professor Kimura was brilliant. He just says, I said, I protected you right through those years because of victimization.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, because you see, because people assume
you're dumb.
You're idiot, you're dumb. Yes. Why would you do this? But also there's lecturers who decide you must be loose, you must be attached to have done this. So do we, and then they decide you just think you're very proud. I was called proud, actually. Half the time, I was just some proud, snotty person, that type of thing, which also you become victimized and vilified for.
Was that sexual harassment?
I mean, sexual harassment, you know me. Can you harass me? Just look at this person. Try. You know, my friends used to hold me back. Yeah, I used to slap guys. When I look back at myself, I saw I'm mad. One time we nearly got beaten in the street. You know, you're walking, a guy slaps my butt. I turn around, I slapped him. The guy was coming to beat us. Like, Patricia, you've got to stop doing this. I said, it's reflex. I'm sorry.
That's a good reflex.
It is reflex. Yeah. I'm sorry. You don't touch me if I don't want you to touch me.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
You see a guy saying it, you want to kiss you. Oh, pop! Who asked you? Who told you I wanted to be kissed? I was so stupid. Honestly, I reflected. I say, and I taught that, and I've taught my girls the same thing. They laugh and they sit down and say, yeah, mom, you know, you travel with us. By the time you allowed us to go downstairs when you're upstairs, I said, yeah, once I've shown you the values. If anybody does this, you punch them, you tell them, you know, nobody should do anything to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, so harassment for me, yes, it was there, but maybe it was there, but I sit down. I know one particular lecturer, the one who failed or tried to fail, and then the dean had to intervene, whatever. Idiot of a guy, you know. And I sat down and I was like, okay, I think it doesn't help the way I also look at you. I think he must have felt that you failed. Yeah, but yeah, those kind of victimizations happen.
Wow.
But I think even the toughest thing, that's why I sit down and say in life, there are people who come and root for you, right? And I sit down and say some of my best friends who, when I look at college, who I worked with, you know, very powerful people. I had an incredible class. You know, our BCom class had
Was Caroline Mtoko in your class?
No.
She wasn't?
No.
Okay.
Caroline didn't do BCom, did she?
No. Was she in your year?
No. She's much younger than me.
Oh, okay.
Caroline wasn't in me. So some of the best people who I'd hang out with, Aiden Mohammed, for example.
Whoa.
Till now, you know,
Okay.
Aiden, I could call him, you know, he was my classmate. When you look at Julius Kipmetich, Dr. Julius, those are my
human.
classmates. You know, when I look at, we had an incredible Jeremy Goods, who are still friends till today. Our class was, I won't lie, we were quite a powerhouse.
Okay,
of
let me
a
ask
commerce
you this.
class.
Like, you know, you've mentioned people who actually want. I bumped into Julius.
I was with him actually
a couple of days.
Yes.
Ago.
Yeah.
And again, because I'm doing a leadership series, those are kind of people who I'm trying to get to come and sit.
Oh, Julius is brilliant.
To share their stories so that people. But my question coming to you is, what is it about that class of people that you had that has brought about such a rich breed of leaders that we are not churning out these days?
I think because we all worked. We all knew what we're there for. We all worked. When I think about all the people, and somehow I remember more the men than the women. We're very few women in our class, by the way. It's not that we still have a group, but we were very few women. It's just that we did this stuff. You know, it's not like these days where people cheat, where they do all sorts of things and everything else. And then because somehow we retain the circle, we in a way still can, we know at the back of our heads we can root for each other. Yeah, if you can call on somebody who's a classmate, and we have a fantastic
alumni group.
Yeah, you can call on each other and you know, so that really helped.
Okay, granted, yes, there were opportunities.
Yeah,
there were more opportunities. Just because of demand and supply.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, I was recruited at the university.
What?
For Unilever as a management trainee. Yeah.
Yeah. I told you guys the story is heavy.
Yeah, that's why I was recruited. They came to the university. They'd go to the dean and ask, give us your top students who you recommend, who you interview. The dean gives a list of people who you go and you're interviewed. You start the first lot, they come. They interviewed us at the university.
Yeah, but you see, for you to be interviewed, there's a lot of things that you're saying that I'm just like, you're ticking the boxes. I'm coming to Unilever.
Yeah.
Do you go to London?
I did after working. After I'd worked.
No, because of Miss Kenya.
Miss Kenya, I did first year. I went to London, went to the House of Commons. I can show you those pictures. I can show you those pictures. You know, with those all those dodgy old ministers. Like, tell us. You know, they're looking at you and they're eyeing you, and you're like, "Hey, this is sexual." Today, I'd say it's sexual harassment. You know, you're trying to sit like this, and you're kitenge because you want to be the African queen, and these characters are there. And you're having peas and lamb.
Had you got to?
Yes, I'd flown, but I'd been to Israel. I'd never been to London.
Okay, had you
You
been
know
to
those
Europe?
days, Kenya, we didn't need visas, anywhere. So Kenya was a different country, but I'd never been.
Wow.
It was my first time there. Went to Macau, incredible island. Never been back there again. Macau is off China coast,
Yes.
which is a gambling. That's where we
was
did
gonna be
all
like, where's that map?
we did all the swimsuit
Yeah.
shots and everything else.
Yeah.
Then went to Hong Kong. We were on a TV show. I mean, now I look back, I'm like, do you know who was my roommate?
Who?
In Miss Kenya? Halle Berry.
Ah, come on. Like, what the heck? Like,
I always show my girls, look at this book that I've signed, that the card when we left, and they say, oh, Mom, Ali. I say, yeah. I mean, I tried to message her on Instagram, but she ignored me. I said, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay.
No way.
Yeah.
That time she was
Miss America.
Yeah.
She was Miss America.
So,
Yeah.
you are running away from this Miss Kenya story, but you're doing some life-changing, pivotal life things.
Yeah.
And when you come back, okay, how do you do? Because the reason why you were meeting as Miss Universe,
Yeah. Miss World.
Miss World, sorry,
yeah.
Miss World was now to crown the Miss World.
Yes,
because you were
Miss
Miss.
World. Oh yeah,
Kenya.
Miss World was Miss Iceland, I think, is only one in our year.
How did you do?
How could I do? Come on, I was
you didn't-
black.
you
I'm
didn't-
African.
you
When
didn't tick the boxes?
even when's the first time
This
a
one
black
I did,
girl won?
Alec Weck, or what is it?
No, but when's the first time an African woman won? You guys, it's just the other day.
Yeah, the other day.
Yeah, it's just a few. There's no way. Blonde.
Yeah.
You either had to be South American, yeah,
White.
or white, blonde, blue eyes, those types.
You did?
Yeah, but there's no chance. Come
Okay.
on. But anyway, I hated it. Honestly, the
You hated the
experience,
experience?
I hated it. Oh my God, that parading, walking up and down, I hated it to bits.
Yeah.
Because for me, if there's something
Idolization.
I'll tell you, independence for me is also being free to do what you want. People think it's fun. You're locked up half the time. You are controlled. You go here. Here I am thinking I'm traveling to these places. I'm going to see things. You didn't see Jack. You went where they wanted to. You're in a bus. You're bussed here. You're bussed there. First of all, don't ever take me on a holiday where there's a bus and you come out. Those are the sorts of things I will not do. That's not a holiday for me at all. Freedom. Remember I told you? Yeah, I have to have the ability to change my mind. I'm spontaneous, whatever. But to go and sit somewhere where you're in a room, our floors had security.
Yeah.
So you couldn't. And in my year, actually, it was even more complex because we had Miss Israel, Miss Lebanon, right?
Oh.
And those countries were at war.
Yes.
So it was a nightmare. So they had to be on different floors. That was being managed. I look back now, I'm like, oh my goodness, this was a nightmare. Then you
Yeah.
go for meals, you're bussed there, you go there. Whatever you're doing was controlled. It's not like you are
Yep.
going to live it up
Yep,
and
yep,
you're out,
yep, yep.
going out in the town. No, you could not just go where you wanted. You just couldn't do it.
So, but then when you come back, you see, in this place you are unknown, no one, you're locked in this life. But here you are on.
Yeah, I tried to forget it. I tried to hide it. Oh my gosh, when I came back, I didn't want anybody.
endorsements, but then you see, it's part of that whole
But
thing.
that is where the moment came in.
Okay.
I realized the businesswoman in me kicked in. I said, okay, if I'm going to pick up flack out of this, I'm going to make money. Actually, I was a very wealthy girl by the time I was in college. Listen, I bought my first car, which all my friends used to use. So I had a car on campus. Everybody else is borrowing, doing whatever. Independence. I told you the story
not
of
your
independence.
parents who bought you the car?
No. I bought my mini Clubman myself, right?
Wow. So
Yeah.
what deals did you get?
KQ 151. No, 151 was the second one. KQ, oh gosh, I want a
Actually,
mini.
was there?
Blue.
Was
The
there?
blue little Clubman.
Wait. Was there? The guys who give these jobs to Miss World and Miss Universe
Yes.
is agency.
Yes.
Was there agency at the time?
No, there was an agent, but he was a hustler agent.
Not agent. Where do you work now? You work your.
So let me give you the story. So
Yes.
I came back. Actually, part of the money I made, full circle, life,
That's what I'm trying to ask.
is an agency I'm running today. They gave me the most. All
No
the
way.
contracts that I do now. Yes. So I did the Lux commercial. I did another one for a lotion called, what was it called? Young and Lovely or something like that. So that's why I made the money. I mean, young and lovely. I'm talking about 30 years ago, being paid 250,000 for 1 year. So when I look at it now, I realize it was a lot of money. Because when I first started my first job, my pay slip was 11,000 shillings. Right? So I sit down and I say that the business person, me, sit down and say, you get lemons, make lemonade. And that's what I did. So you're giving me flack, but I'm busy. And I modeled a lot. That's the only time I modeled while I was in college. So I used to model a lot for Little Red. I'd model a lot for, the biggest brands I did was Little Red. Who else did I work for? And African Heritage. Remember African Heritage? So if you go to African Heritage, you see a lot of the old photos of me.
Here.
Yes. So African Heritage for Alan Donovan. Yes. Used to do all the African whatevers. So those are the two big things I used to model for. So I was never broke. Never ever broke.
You were.
And I listen now to my daughter modeling sometimes, and people telling her they're paying. Oh, in Kenya, people want to pay you 8,000 or something to do a modeling. I said, McKenna, I was getting paid 2,000 35 years ago, whatever. How could it be 8? I mean, how could it be, Things haven't moved on here. So wow. Alan Donovan, in fact, I keep saying I have to go back to the house. I got some of the photos, but I need to go and just get a few more of the photos from that time. And then Little Red, a lot of the stuff for Little Red.
So you're working?
Yes, I worked.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
You're in school, but you're working. And even here, you see, your whole story, there's one thing that you sound like, and I'm glad that I didn't, you sound like there's a group of people here and you're here.
Yeah, I always was like that.
You always sounded like you're here, and not even in terms of alone. It's just that you're thinking, you're acting. There's something
I don't
different.
see it, by the way.
There's something
it's funny
different.
how you don't think about it. Now when you call it out, I realize my brain has always, that thing called independence has always driven me. Independence, resilience. It's funny how a particular desire you have drives everything you do. So you'll accept it if it's going to be the end to the mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, the means to the end. Yes. The means to the end. Yeah, the end for me was always to be independent. Right?
But you're achieving it already in.
So I had my car. I could drive around. I could go. They'd borrow it. So I didn't have to depend on people. In fact, till today, I'm glad there's Ubers and stuff like that, because I'd sit down and say, going in a car with a guy and then he leaves you somewhere. And then, you're like, I want to go and somebody's not bringing you back. I said, hell no.
Wow.
Yeah. So those are some of the things. Yeah.
And then now, okay, let's do a quick break. When we come back now, we hear, I don't want to call it your first job, because this whole time that you worked and earned money, even though you've blocked it out, it was, wait, before I transition, what were you doing with the money? Did you invest? Did you save? I
saved. I used to save.
So
I was saving it, but my mother used it. Every now and then she would come and say, oh, Patty, I have a bit of this problem. Maybe just give me that book. So she'd come and those withdrawal slips. Yes. So I'd sign a withdrawal slip with the amount. She said, no, just sign a few more so that I don't keep disturbing you. And so the story went.
My God, you are doing so well.
And so the story went. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. We're taking a quick break. We're coming back. Oh, what?
So then graduation, 1995, my parents come.
Wow.
My auntie comes as well. My brother comes. Just a wonderful, wonderful time. And I've graduated from Cornell Law with a degree, a JD. And so now it's to think about what's next. Yeah. So now it's 95. Yeah. So why this
is... you've told your dad, I'm not going back home.
No, because now what I'm going to try and do is get a bit of work experience that now I can take back to Kenya, right? So this is what the plan is. And now I think I'm going to work in this area of human rights and democratic development. So now I can't afford to go home in 95 after that. Now we have to recover from all of that expenditure, right? And remember, I've probably passed through home after South Africa. Yes. So now my brother, who is now coming up behind me, 2 years behind me, has gone to Dartmouth. And at this school, he's done computer engineering. So this summer, he's there on doing an internship in the DC area. So I go and I live with my brother for the summer as I'm now trying to think about what to do next. And of course, very broke. One thing I do remember is that now completely tapped out. Like he's feeding us, you know. So we spent the summer there. But that's when one day my brother I'll tell it from my point of view because there's other players who have their own versions now. But one day my brother tells me, oh, the 4th of July is coming. And we were going to go downtown to look at the fireworks, and he says that he's met some guy who he met at a party some weeks before, who's just come from Kenya, and he's going to invite this guy to join us, and we'll go and look at the fireworks. I said, okay, fine. And then we'll have to pick up the guy, and then we'll go with him and spend the day with our other friends. I had a cousin with us and other people. Yeah, so that's how that happens. And then we end up, picking up this guy who is a friend of his, who ends up being my husband several years later. Several years later. So I met my husband in Washington, D.C. on the 4th of July, which we all joke. I say it is Independence Day. He says it's mine, where I found my freedom.
And your husband
but this story evolves much later.
Okay.
So he's called Mugo. He's Mugo Kibati, who I met at that time. He was 26. I was 20. I think I was 24. He was 25.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were kids. But of course, marriage and dating comes much later. But this is just meeting.
When you talked about Vision 2030 was formed under Mugo Kibati.
Yes, it was.
So he's a visionary on his own.
No, he certainly is, and a wonderful man.
Okay.
Yes.
Enough props for him. Back to you.
So we then start trying to figure out how we are going to make a living, because what I'm doing is looking for work. And so I decide that I'm going to start applying, which I've been doing all along, and eventually I get a job offer much later in October from the International Foundation for Election Systems, which is called IFES. It's an organization that works on elections all over the world. So I'm hired as a program assistant for Africa.
Program, break it down. What does that mean on a work basis? What do you do?
This is a very good question, because many times I've had cases where interns or assistants join a firm and they say, I want to work with you because I want to work in venture capital, right? Or I want to do private equity. But every job, you start by doing copies, you start by taking notes, you start by helping write up whatever is happening in meetings, and then you arrange logistics, right? So this particular firm was sending delegations to Africa to observe elections and to run election administration programs, mostly supporting election commissions. So for example, I had an assignment once to Tanzania, and we were helping the election commission run an election. And if you're the program assistant, you're the one who's the KYM. Basically, you're being sent to do this, do that. And that's what program assistants usually are in the beginning. Then later on is when you now start to coordinate the whole program, to conceptualize it. But I always tell people that because you're doing that doesn't mean you're not in venture capital or that you haven't started your private equity career. It's just what you do so that you understand. Firstly, it's the level at which you can make decisions, but it's also how you start to understand all the different pieces of the work that help you support the election commission in Tanzania, that kind of thing.
Followership comes before leadership.
Exactly, it sure does. It sure does. So program assistant, that's the work I was doing, was supporting the different program officers. One was a Liberia program where we were helping set up a radio station in Liberia that was going to help with civic education.
Wow.
And then, so we had then I wrote a report on Mali about the electoral law in Mali. So these were some of the things I contributed to in that role.
And would you travel to these countries to?
I traveled to Tanzania, but the rest no.
Okay.
Sometimes the Malian delegation came to us and we worked with them there.
Okay.
By the time a program assistant is put on a plane to join the delegation, a lot of our other people have to have gone before I get to you. And that's also part of life. It doesn't mean, it's just how it is, right? Right. So that role was fine. I did that for almost 2 years. And then I received an interesting call. I'm still applying to job. Oh, the other thing that's an interesting story was with that one is when I got my job offer. I remember being taken aback because again, you are a young person who thinks you have a lot to offer. I've gone through a top law school. I've been in school for, But when they made the offer, I went, wow.
humble pie. I'm going to be eating a lot of this. I'm going to be eating a lot of this.
But I took the job, and it really was the path I was meant to be on. But in that moment, my expectations and the reality of the value even that you can bring to a team, it was much more inflated.
Yeah.
So over time, I came to see why that's the case. But it took a while. Yeah, I think, yeah.
That's actually what you've said is there are people who may have gone to school and been in the school a lot. Where does experience play? For example, university, went straight to do my master's, and then now for my master's, I'm coming to get a job with the expectation of a certain level because I've got my master's.
Yes.
What's the reality of what experience does versus just papers, or what would you say about what I've just said?
Yeah, that's a really important point, because I would go even further than that. It's experience, but also what value are you bringing, right? Because what happened in this particular case, I remember I get another job, and I'm offered a job to now go back to the California area, right? So I was a program assistant, and somebody called me with a role for program officer with a pay increase. And I remember when I came to tell my boss that I'm leaving, his reaction is not what I expected. I mean, he was just like, "Oh, it sounds like a great opportunity. We really support you. You know, when will you be? You know, when
are you bouncing?
Like, no grief, no regret." But I realized that, and I'm not saying I added no value. It's just that you have to understand the whole thing to understand what your piece is really doing to move the ball along, right? So I think in that particular case is an example of how I now understand the way that you should approach. It's always, what am I doing for you? And how do I make your life easier as my boss? And then also understanding, how is money coming into this organization? How is it going out? So that you understand what really matters to the people who are your superiors and what their worries are, and how you could maybe alleviate those worries.
Okay.
So you try and take the lens off yourself, right? Like me and my needs and to really, how does this place run? How does it hum? What are the real worries of my superiors? And that can help you make more of an impact. Because if you alleviate those worries, you're on your way to becoming a valuable asset for whatever organization you're in.
That is, wow, that's a nugget and a 3/4. Enter the space. There's two things that I've had. First,
you're coming to solve a problem.
Yes, but to solve a problem, actually, even before, how does this system work? What's the input, what's the output? And then now find within that understanding, let your role bring value to reduce how much leaves if you can, and also increase how much comes.
Exactly.
Or just play your part
to
the best.
Yeah, but contribute.
Okay.
Huh? Yeah.
So when
and maybe less focus on yourself. Like, just use that time to try and understand what are other people's pain points. Huh? And I feel like at that time, that's why I have a real heart for people in this age group, which I really serve. Huh? I have a very special heart for people in that kind of 18 to 24.
Yeah.
Because I was there, and I remember that feeling of being a bit bewildered in the beginning.
Yeah. Whereas
now looking back, if somebody had told me, no, focus on this, focus on that, it would have really helped.
And are you winging it? Are you getting guide? Actually, I've not heard you speak at all about a mentor. Out of your parents, out of your nuclear family. I've not heard you getting guidance, career, information. You've not mentioned somebody else. So are you just trying your best?
No. In each of these spaces, there were mentors. They might not be people who said, "Hi, I'm a mentor. We're sitting here and I'm mentoring you." No, it's not that, right?
Yeah.
It was more of
like that.
It's never that. I mean, now there's a lot of pressure for people to do it that formal way.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, your boss is your mentor. In the old days, it used to be that you're an apprentice, and then you have somebody who's a bit further up, who's maybe a novice, and then they bring you up, and then over time you become a master. But you work alongside, and that's how you learn. It's not about somebody telling you this is how to do things. And so we tend to ignore your boss and all the mentors around you to go look for somebody outside who's usually at a place where they're much more advanced, and their advice might not yet be relevant. So I always tell people, look for mentors around you, look for mentors online, like get different things of what you need from different people and keep moving. But don't think that there'll be some one person who comes in fully baked, who will walk with you throughout your career. And there's some people who'll be useful at one level, and then later on you go into a different field. And then that experience got you to that point, but then it won't get you to the next point. So being versatile and also kind of working with what you have, instead of imagining that it's an ideal way that it looks, I think is very, very helpful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's helped somebody. Okay, so you wow, cross country in this whole
Yeah, so now I'm back in
continent.
DC. Yeah. So I get this job offer at the Global Fund for Women.
Where now you're going to what state?
Now I'm going back to California. Now I'm going to California. So Oregon is here, California is here, and now I'm in the Bay Area, which is the area around. The Bay Area is what they call the kind of suburbs of San Francisco. And I'm in Palo Alto, and Palo Alto is the town where Stanford University is, and it's the town where, when you think of Silicon Valley and where all those investors are, that's the area where now I've gone.
Stop!
Yes.
I want this one in its own video. We're coming back.